Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to give it about 30 seconds just to get everyone on, and then we'll get started.
I saw you were working on, was it 508, 509, Lewis?
I was working on 508.
Yeah, putting in
I
one
mean
of those
505.
protective,
I'm sorry, 505.
yeah, putting in one of those protective shields.
Yeah, putting one of those, new COVID-19 shields to keep the drivers safe from, from COVID-19. Even the cold now, because
Yeah, the flu.
this cold season, the flu season starting up. So
Yep,
that's a nice addition for the drivers and the buses.
absolutely.
Yeah, we've done quite a
Hopefully,
few
all
of those
these
already.
precautions will make us healthier for other things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has. We haven't had any problems. We haven't had any drivers or anything like that get sick. I mean, I don't know passengers wise, but drivers wise, so the shields seem to be working. So
Yeah,
that's a good.
yeah, I would think if the drivers aren't, then the passengers are probably good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, you want to get started, Courtney?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Courtney Goldberg. I'm a program manager at TransAction. I'm joined by Kelly Marsacci and Sophia Gallimore. We are, and of course, Louis Mejia. He is our fleet manager and mechanic at TransAction Corporate Shuttles. Louis, thank you so much for joining us today. Louis agreed to Louis agreed to tape a few videos for us with some expert tips on how to make sure your car is ready for travel, whether you're commuting back to work every day, occasionally, or doing some other things on the road. It's important to make sure that your car is working properly. So Louis goes through a few categories to check on that. Just a little bit about Louis. He's been working on cars for over 19 years, and he's been with us at TransAction Corporate Shuttles for 4 years. In our garage, he manages 130 vehicles, which averages out to 5 to 10 a day. So he's a very busy guy. And today he will share some simple maintenance tips. TransAction, we are a full-service transportation company. And we have a consulting division, which is TransAction Associates. And then we also have our own shuttle division, which is TransAction Corporate Shuttles, which is where Louis works. So in general, we encourage people not to drive alone by carpooling, vanpooling, taking public transportation or biking or walking. And then, of course, we also have our shuttles that help fill the first and last mile gap. We're going to be showing a few pre-recorded videos where Louis will demonstrate a different maintenance tip, and he's here with us. After each video, and each one's about 5 minutes long, we'll come back to Louis for your questions, so please feel free to type your questions in the right-hand side panel or click the raise hand icon, and we'll get to your questions. So here is the first video, which is how to conduct a pre-trip visual inspection. In this video, Louis will explain how you look on the outside and inside of your car before you drive it, what to look for on your tires and brakes, and from mirrors to inspection stickers and more. Louis makes it simple. All right, here we go. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, my name is Louis Mejia. I'm the fleet manager at TransAction Corporate Shuttles, and today I'm going to teach you or show you a couple of things that you want to do to your vehicle before you go back to work. A lot of us are coming back from, the COVID-19 era and starting back, our normal lives, and we got to get back on our vehicles. And, there's a couple of, tips and things that you want to check before you get back in your car and go back, go out on the road. And last thing you want to do is the first day to go back to work and you're stuck in the side of the highway. So, let's start. When you first come to your vehicle, whether you park it inside or you park in your garage, you always want to look around. Before you start it up, you want to check your bumper, make sure your headlights, make sure everything is secure. Check your tires. Cars usually, when they sit around for a long time, tires tend to go flat. So check your tires. Do a visual inspection. I usually start on the right side, on the passenger side of the vehicle. I come check my tires. Look at my lug nuts, make sure my lug nuts are there. Make sure my tire doesn't have any cuts. Make sure it's not flat on the ground. Make sure I don't have any loose parts inside the wheel well. And when you do that, you can also check to make sure you don't have, maybe a cat, a mouse, a bunny living under there, squirrels, because that happens. Animals tend, especially during the winter time, they tend to get inside the vehicles and just look for a warm spot. So you want to do that too. If you park outside, check your inspection sticker. Make sure you have a good inspection sticker, because if you park in Boston, you're getting a ticket. Check your mirrors. Make sure no one has, hit one of your mirrors. You got a broken mirror, you don't know, you can call the insurance before you go out on the road. Check the side, the side of your vehicle, your windows. Come back to your rear tire. Check your rear tire. Same thing as the front, make sure you don't have any cuts. Make sure you have proper tread on the tire. Make sure there's no slides, and make sure it's not flat. While you're here, you can check your brakes. You can kind of look around, make sure you don't have any leaks. You can see your brake pads. Rotors, this vehicle has been on the road, so it doesn't really have any rust on the surface of the rotor. But if your vehicle's been sitting for about a month or two, or even less than that, I mean, within a week, a rotor will get rust on it. So check that. Come back to the back. Check your tail lights. Make sure your tail lights are all there. Just do a visual inspection for damage and loose parts. Check your rear license plate. Make sure you still have it. Check your sticker. Make sure your sticker is older than 20. If you got a 20, you're probably about, it's about time for you to renew your registration. So this one expires on the 22, and the month is the 8th. That's usually how you know when your registration expires, the last number on your plate and the year. And then I come back to my driver's side, and same thing. I just do a sweep on the driver's side. Again, I check my tire again. Check my rotors. I check to make sure I don't have anything living underneath the tire. Any squirrels, rabbits, like I said on the front. Check your brakes. Check your windows. Check your mirror. Make sure your mirror is all there. Make sure it's not loose. Come to the front. Check your front tire. Check for nails. Cuts, slices on it. Make sure it has proper air. Make sure it has enough tread on it. And check your brakes. Make sure your rotors are not all corroded. Check your caliper. Make sure you don't have any leaks. This is your brake caliper. So you want to look on the bottom. Make sure there's no brake fluid leaking out of them. That's something that happens when a vehicle seats and you get in it and step on the brake. So after you do an outside inspection, then you want to, turn your lights on, turn your car on, and then you start checking your lights. So you come to the inside of your vehicle. Same thing, just kind of give it a visual inspection. Make sure you don't have any spiders coming down while you're driving and whatnot. You come in. It's very important for you to check your brakes. So the best way to check your brakes, you pump it 3 times. You pump your brake pedal 3 times. And make sure your brake pedal gets hard. If your brake pedal gets hard, that means you don't have any leaks on your hydraulic system. So you don't have any brake fluid leaking anywhere. After doing the visual inspection, there's another way to inspect your brakes. Wiggle your steering wheel a little bit. Make sure everything's tight. And then you can come in, check your gauges, and you can turn your lights on. And then you go back to the outside. Now, when we come back to the outside, same thing. Now, we just checked to make sure our lights were there, nothing was broken, nothing was loose. Now we make sure our lights are on. So my headlights are on, my marker lights are on. So you check your lights, you come back to the rear. And you check your rear lights. You check to make sure your tail lights are coming on, both sides. And make sure you have license plate lights, because those are very important if you're driving at nighttime. Another trick to check your lights, if you don't have anyone around, you can park against the wall and you can see your brake lights. You can make sure they're working. You can check your turn signals, because you see the reflection against the wall. So that's another trick to check your lights if you don't have anyone around. All right, so when you come back inside the vehicle, you check your windshield. You use, I don't want to spray you, but, you spray the windshield, and then you turn your wipers on. Make sure your wipers clear the windshield. You can see these wipers are streaking a little bit, so it's almost time for them to be replaced. You can see the streaks on the windshield. And she also has a tire pressure light on. That's another, a lot of the new vehicles, the older vehicles don't have that, but this vehicle has a tire pressure light on, so that's mean one of her tires is a little low. So she either has a nail, or the park, this car's been parked for a little bit, she maybe just needs to adjust the tire pressure. So that's another indication that if you have a tire pressure light on, you may have a nail somewhere, and the last thing you want to find out that you have a flat tire is on the middle of the highway, at 6 in the morning when you're heading to work. So while you're in here, check your horn, make sure it works. And then after you do this, you want to do a under hood inspection.
Beautiful.
All right. Awesome. I am sure that everyone is already learning a lot. I know I did. Thank you, Lewis, for video number 1. We are going to break and ask the audience if they have any questions.
So Courtney, we do have one question. If you find a chip in your windshield, how do you know if it should be replaced?
Hold on. Hold on, we got Lewis muted, so let's try to see if we can unmute Lewis. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, we can.
All right. So the question was, if you have a chip on your windshield, how do you know if it needs to be replaced or if it can be fixed?
Yes.
So they usually said if the crack or the chip on your windshield is bigger than a quarter, than the size of a quarter coin, then that means the windshield needs to be replaced. So if you have a chip on your windshield, you put a quarter over it, and the quarter covers the whole chip, including the little spider cracks that come from the chip, and that means that chip can safely be repaired, and you don't have to worry about the windshield cracking if you hit a pothole or if you hit any bumps on the road. If it's bigger than a quarter, then the windshield needs to be replaced. And the good thing is that in Massachusetts, it covers, your insurance covers your windshield. It actually covers 2 or 3 windshields per year, and you won't have to pay a deductible or anything.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
We also have another
Awesome.
question. How common is it to find nails in tires?
Very common, especially nowadays that there's so much construction going on around, Boston and the metro area. I mean, we see nails. We have 2 buses today with nails in them, 2 different buses with nails in the tires. It's very common nowadays. There's so much construction, there's so much development going on that, unfortunately, you're always going to find nails on the road, and it's common. It's common. A lot of people don't notice it, and that's why they decided to put tire pressure sensors on the tires to make sure they warn the driver that if they picked up a nail, the tire is going low. Once the tire drops below 5 psi, then that a tire light comes on the dash telling you, okay, you have a nail or you have something on your tire. Get it inspected.
Perfect. And then we have another question. So if I do find a cat underneath in my tire wheel well, what should I do?
Okay, if that happens, the best thing to do is, if you're outside, get in your car, beep the horn a few times. Usually when you beep the horn, they don't expect that, so they run out. Just make sure they do run out. Don't try to grab him. Don't try to poke him or anything, and don't try to start the car up and try to get him to get scared from there, because they may get caught in one of the belts. If you're inside your garage, you want to open your door first, your garage door first, and then you do the same thing. Hit the horn and turn your headlights on. So once he sees that, hopefully he'll run away and look for the easiest exit, which will be the garage door.
Beautiful. All right. So we ready to go on for under the hood?
Yeah.
Just
The
one
next.
question.
Oh, you have
One more
another question?
Yeah. So you did the inspection, like, you turned the car on, and then the lights came on, to show the battery and tire pressure. Is there any particular indicator that if it's on, you should pay special attention to?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. There's 3 things that you want to pay attention on when it comes to it. Number 1 would be your oil light. Your oil light kind of looks like the Aladdin lamp. It's almost like a little lamp with a drop on it. That's your oil light. If you start your vehicle on and that light is on, that's mean your vehicle doesn't have any oil in it. You're lower than a quart of oil. And if you drive it like that, you're going to blow up your motor within minutes. So we're talking about thousands of dollars of repairs. So that would be the first one, the oil light. The second light you want to check for is your brake light. That's another thing. Sometimes people check their, they check the pedal, they check under the car, they don't see any leaks, but the brake pads are low, and it's hard to see brake pads sometimes with with the kind of rims that a vehicle has on. So if your brake light is on, that means your brake fluid level is low, and you either have a leak that you can't see, you may have an internal leak, or you just need your brakes to be serviced. So that's another light that if it's on, you don't want to go on the highway, or you don't want to drive it too far. You may want to drive it to a shop, but I would probably recommend getting a tow just to be safe. And the third light will probably be your ABS light. or your check engine light. I mean, check engine lights, you can usually drive with those lights on because, you know, there's a bunch of sensors in the hood that will, under the hood that will cause that light to come on and it won't cause any drivability problems. But if your ABS light is on and let's say it's, you know, snowy outside or it's rainy and you happen to hit your brakes unexpectedly, your car is going to skid, you know, and you're going to rear end the other car or you're going to go off the road, which, you know, if your ABS light is on, that means the system is deactivated. So those are probably the three lights that you want to worry about. Oil light number 1, brake light on the dash number 2, and ABS light number 3. Those will be probably the 3 lights that, if they are on when you turn the vehicle on, you want to, you know, think twice before you take it on the road, and you may want to call AAA or a tow company to get it towed to a service location.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Louis. All right, we're
You're
going to move
welcome.
on to video number 2. In this one, Louis is going to go under the hood. It all depends on the make and model of your car, but in this video, Louis explains using a Mazda CX-5, which actually happens to be my car, and what to look for when you lift the hood on your car.
So after you do your inside inspection, you want to check under the hood again. You know, you open your hood. A lot of cars have the handle here. A lot of the Hondas have it on this side or down here. You know, they all, depending on the make and model, the hood release is going to be in different locations. This one's happen to be here, and it's pretty, you know, pretty easy to read it. So you open your hood, and every hood has a release handle on it. So once you disengage the hood from the latch, it will still, you know, it won't open. You just gotta press the release, and then you'll be able to open the hood up. Look for your hood prong, or it may have shocks on it. See, this one has it here. Some have it on the side. Some have it on the driver's side. Like I said, it all depends on make and model. And usually when I open the hood, I kind of do a sweep from the driver's side to the passenger side. You know, I check my battery connections. The battery on this vehicle happens to be here. This is your positive. This is your negative. Positive usually has a little bit of a, you know, they put, you know, a red piece on it just so you know they see the red tape, or they put, you know, a piece inside the red cover, or it just has a red cover, you know, instead of a black cover. The negative most of the times is exposed, and it comes to the frame. So usually if you see you know, from your terminal, if you see a wire that goes from your battery terminal to the frame or to the body, that's a negative. So you'll know that's the negative cable, and this is the positive. Just in case you need a jump start, you know, you don't want to jump start it backwards, because if you do that, you could be burning your ECM, you know, burning a fuse, and then you gotta call someone to fix it. Probably be someone like me. After that, you want to start checking your fluids. This is your brake fluid. You check the level of your brake fluid. Make sure, you know, the reservoir is not empty. If it's empty, you may have a leak. Like I said, you know, the inspection that we did in the inside determined that this unit didn't have any leaks. But if your pedal goes to the ground, then you know you have a leak, and you can open your hood, check this, and if it's empty, you definitely have a leak. So you definitely don't want to start your car and start driving it. At that time, you're better off calling a tow truck or calling AAA and getting it towed to a location to get it fixed. After I check my brake fluid, I come and check my coolant. This is my coolant reservoir. Some vehicles have it in front of the radiator. Some vehicles have it to either side of the vehicle. This car has clear, no, this one has green coolant. Some vehicles have blue, red, so you gotta make sure you don't mix it with a power steering fluid or a windshield washer fluid, which a lot of people, you know, tend to do that. Honda uses blue coolant, and the washer fluid most of the times is blue, so there could be a mix up there. So just always be careful. Make sure you're not mixing, you know, fluids. This is your coolant, and this is your radiator. You never want to open this cap when it's hot. If you drive your vehicle around and you take this cap off, there's a lot of pressure in the coolant system, and it will burn you. So you never want to check your coolant system, you know, while the vehicle is hot. But you know, we're talking about pre-inspection, so you know, you come look at it, check your reservoir. You can see that hers is on the low level, so it needs to be added a little bit. That's the low for L for low, and then there's an F there for full. So just a little bit low, nothing to be worried about, but it's something that if you take it for a service, you want them to top off your coolant. After I check that, I look around my engine bay, make sure I don't have anything living under there. Like I said, animals during the winter time especially look for warm places to, you know, to stay warm, and it's very common for squirrels, rats, you know, bunnies to get even cats to get under the engine base and just stay warm. And when you go to start it up, you know, sometimes they get caught with the belts or they just burn. So something to look for. I come here and I check my washer fluid. You know, this is your washer fluid reservoir. You can see the picture of the windshield and the sprayer going on the windshield. You can check it, you know, top it off if you have it. If not, if you go to a gas station, you know, a lot of the times the gas station attendant will help you fill it up, or, you know, or you can just go to AutoZone and buy it. It's pretty straightforward. This is your oil fill cap, and this is your dipstick. That's another thing you want to check. You know, you want to make sure your engine has oil in it. So you pull your dipstick out. On the dipstick, there's two lines, there's two dots. That's the low the low mark, and then the high mark. You always want to be close to the high mark. You don't want to be over that. But if you're in the middle, then you're still safe. But if you're in the, you know, below the low mark, then you know you need oil. You don't want to start your vehicle if it's on the low mark, because you're going to cause some damage to the internals of the vehicle. So that's another thing that you want to check. You know, a lot of people don't check their oil. After you check your oil, then you want to, you know, last thing you want to kind of check under the hood. Just make sure you still have a belt on it. You know, your drive belt is this one here, and it drives your, like on this one, you can see that it drives the alternator. This is your alternator, this is the pulley, and this is the belt going over the alternator. It drives your AC compressor, and it drives your water pump. Sometimes when the vehicle seats, rust, you know, collects on the pulleys, and when you start it up, it just rips the belt apart. And then without knowing, you know, you start driving off, then your battery light comes on because your alternator is not charging, and your vehicle starts overheating because your belt just came off because of rust buildup on it. So just make sure your belt is in place, make sure it's in good condition, make sure you don't have any cracks or any splits on it, and you should be good to go on the road.
All right.
Honey, we do
Thank you,
have,
Louis.
we do have a question.
Yes,
So if I have a coolant at home, how do I know if it's okay to use?
if you have coolant at home,
Yes.
most of the coolants they sell at the auto parts, they're pretty universal. I mean, if you drive a regular car, it's okay to mix it. You just have to make sure that it says most of the time they have a tag on them that says, you know, this coolant is compatible with Japanese or Asian cars. This coolant is compatible with, you know, American cars, which is Ford, GM, Chrysler, Dodge. Or this coolant is good with Europeans. So you always want to read the tag. If you know it's a coolant that is for your vehicle and you need to top it off, you always want to check, you know, a tip to know if it's safe to take the cap off is you just grab one of your radiator hoses. It's usually the upper radiator hose. If you grab it and you squeeze it and there's no pressure on it, then you know it's okay for you to open the radiator cap. Like I said, you always want to let the car cool down at least an hour or two before you add on coolant. Or if you haven't started up, you know, if you haven't started up for a day or two, then it's safe to open it. Because if you open that system while it's hot, I mean, that system gets to about 200, you know, 200 Fahrenheit. So it gets pretty hot.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, if it's a coolant, like I said, just read the tag, and if it's compatible with the model, with the make and model that you have, then it's safe to mix it.
Okay. All right. So we do have another one. Why would an engine burn oil, and what should be done?
What was that?
Why would an engine burn oil, and what should be done?
Okay, if you have an engine that burns oil, it's one of two things. One, your valve seals are probably bad. Valve seals are on the top of the head of the motor. So when your motor is running, there's actually, you know, depending on the amount of valves that you have, usually it's you know, one intake, one exhaust. Some vehicles have two for the intake, two for the exhaust. But these valves move up and down into the combustion chamber, and there's a little seal boot that kind of seals around the valve when the valve goes down and it comes back up, and it doesn't let the oil that's sitting on the top of the engine go into the combustion chamber. And, you know, from the heat and after the miles, you know, like around 150,000 miles, those seals start to get dry and oil starts bypassing those seals. And that's when the vehicle starts burning oil. The other reason will be piston rings. You know, your piston is pretty much just like the valves. You know, the piston is actually on the bottom of on the block. So the valves are on the head, which is the top part of the motor. The piston is on the block, which is the bottom part of the motor. and the pistons are driven by the crankshaft. So you got a crankshaft that spins, and you have, if it's a 4-cylinder, it has 4 pistons that go up and down, and the pistons have rings on them. So it has a ring that keeps the compression inside, in between the head and the block. Then it has a ring in the bottom that keeps the oil that's in the oil pan, in the oil pump, and that's lubricating the crankshaft, the connecting rods from going up into the combustion chamber. And sometimes those rings get worn too, either because of the miles or carbon buildup. Fuel now is mixed with a lot of stuff, and motors tend to build more carbon now than they did before. And sometimes that carbon buildup wears the rings out a little bit. So that's another way to get oil in. Unfortunately, once you have a vehicle that's burning oil, it's an expensive repair.
Mhm.
You're talking probably, $3,000 to get your engine rebuilt. And once you get inside the engine, you don't know what else you're going to find. You could open a motor up and realize that, okay, well, this doesn't just need rings, and it's going to need pistons too, or bearings. So that's a pretty expensive repair once it gets to that point. If it's an older vehicle, you may want to think on just trading it in. If it has a sentimental value for you, then you're probably better off just, buying another motor for it.
Okay, got you. Okay, so in a pinch, can water be used instead of a coolant?
Can oil be used instead of water?
Water.
Yeah. Yes. If it's actually, a lot of people use water in the southern states. So if you live in a place that's tropical where it doesn't get below the freezing point, a lot of these people just use water. They don't use coolant. So if you happen to be broken down on the side of the road and you need some water to get home, you can definitely add water to the system, even during the winter time, because it's not gonna freeze because the engine is already hot. As long as you don't open it when there's pressure in it, you should be good. But yeah, you can definitely use water.
Okay, that's good. I'm taking all of this stuff in, Louis. Now,
Right.
when there is corrosion around the battery, what should you do?
You don't want to mess with that stuff. You want to take it to a shop to have it cleaned. A lot of the times they use tap water, because the chloride on the tap water actually dissolves the corrosion that builds up around the terminals. And they clean it out, then they put a little bit of paint on the terminal and the battery post, just to keep it protected from the elements. And then they add anti-corrosion to the top of the battery, which is like a greasy solution that they put on the terminals, or dielectric grease will do the job too.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for right now, Courtney.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Louis. Our next video, Louis is going to show you how to jumpstart your car doing 2 different ways. One thing to keep in mind, which I learned, is that the red clamp is positive and the black clamp is negative. All right, here we go.
All right, so let's say you finish doing your inspection, you start your car, and you realize, geez, my car doesn't start. You have a dead battery. Now you either need a jump start, which, there's 2 ways to jump start a vehicle. One is just the good old-fashioned jumper cables. Most of the times, they don't come in yellow. They come on, the red terminal has a red cable on it, and the black one has a black cable on it. So it's easier to identify them. This one is yellow, but same thing, red is positive and black is ground. Another way to jumpstart your vehicle is, a lot of people have booster packs now. This is just a common, booster pack. Same thing. You have your black terminal for ground, and then you have your red clamp for positive. And a lot of them have the marks on them. You can see it on this one where it shows you the positive mark on it, and then the negative for ground. Let's say that one of these vehicles is dead, and I'm going to show you the proper way to jumpstart a vehicle. You open your hood, and then hopefully the person that's helping you knows how to open their hood. If not, you gotta kind of figure it out. But like I said, same thing, just a lever. This one is a little bit different. That one you gotta push it to the left, to the right, and this one you gotta go left, because this is a 4. And like I was saying on the terminals, negative terminal most of the times is exposed, and it has another wire going into the ground. This one, as you can see, the positive is just all red, when that one is black with a red insert in it. So you open your terminals up, on both of the vehicles. Usually you want to put your cables on the dead battery first. A good way to do it is you grab your negative and you grab your positive and you pinch your negative cable with the positive so you don't touch them. Because once you jump a battery with these two cables, if these two touch, then you're gonna have a spark. And again, you could blow one of your fuses, or you could even blow your computer inside the vehicle. So you come here and black negative goes to your negative on the battery, which is the one that's exposed, and positive goes to your positive on the battery. And if you have two people doing this, you can have one person holding one side of the wires, just make sure they don't touch them. But if you don't happen to have anyone helping you, or the person on the other side doesn't know how to help you, that's why you kind of just pinch the wires. So you put your positive there, and now you have a connection between your positive and your negative. So at this point, you don't want these two to touch because they're gonna spark. You don't have to worry about getting shocks. Batteries don't shock people. People think that they do because they spark sometimes, but there's no, you'll never get shocked by a car battery. And then you do the same thing. You want to connect your positive first. So I connect my positive, and then I connect my ground. Why do you do this first? Why do you do the positive first and then the ground? Because if you do it the opposite, you'll have a spark. Most of the times, if you put the ground first and then you go to the positive, it always have a little spark. Nothing's gonna happen, but it just, if you have a fuel leak or anything like that, it's just just a safe way to do it. You'll never have a spark when you go from positive first and then to negative. And then this vehicle is ready to jump start. You gotta make sure that the vehicle you're using to jump start the dead vehicle is running. So after I have this already connected, I'll go start this vehicle, or most of the times you leave it running, and then you leave it charging for about 5 minutes. Once you have it charging for about 5 minutes, that vehicle should be ready to start. You start it up, and once you get it running, don't just shut it off and say, oh, my battery's charged, because it's gonna die right away. So if you get it running and you have to go somewhere on like a 15-20 minute drive, then by then it should be charged. But if you're just charging it just because you want to make sure your vehicle runs, you definitely want to take it on a trip. You want to go around the block, or go get coffee or something, leave it running. But make sure it runs for at least like 10-15 minutes. Don't just turn it on, it runs, and then shut it off, because the next day it's gonna be dead again. It's the alternator doesn't have enough time to recharge your dead battery. All right, with the second method, using the jump pack, a lot of them have an on and off switch. This one doesn't have one, unfortunately, but a lot of them have just an on and off switch. So usually you want to put it on with the switch off. Let's say this one has one, so the switch is off, and you do the same thing. Your negative goes into your negative, and then your positive goes into your positive. Just remember, plus is positive, red is positive, and black is negative. Don't mix those up. And now this vehicle is ready to be charged. If I had a switch to turn it on and off, now this is the time that I will turn it on, and then I'll go inside the vehicle and start it up. Anytime you use this, just make sure this is away from your belt. Make sure it's away from your exhaust system, because there's a lot of times that people use this to start it up, and then they leave it on for like 5 minutes, and it starts melting into the exhaust system, or one of the cables gets caught with the belt or one of the pulleys, and you end up causing more damage to the vehicle. So once you have let's say this vehicle is already, the battery's a little charged, this vehicle is running, you come back here, you turn it off, and then you disconnect your clamps, and disconnect your terminals, and your vehicle's ready to go back on the road.
Awesome. Thanks again, Louis. Sophia, do we have any questions?
We do have a few questions, yes. So can owners of a hybrid vehicle offer a jump if someone asks? And is there anything special to know about hybrid vehicles?
Okay, usually when you have a hybrid, it's very hard for you to offer a jump. I mean, I don't recommend anyone with a hybrid to use their car to jumpstart someone else's car, because most of the times the battery on the hybrids are either hidden in the trunk and people don't know about them. They just know about the two terminals that are under the hood, and you don't want to use the two terminals that they give you under the hood to jumpstart another vehicle. So I mean, they do have the capability of jump starting another vehicle. I just wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
And hybrids have two batteries. So they have the regular 12-volt battery, which is the battery that every vehicle uses, and the battery that a hybrid uses to start. And then they have the hybrid battery or the cell battery, which is most of the times is under the passenger seat, under the rear passenger seats, or in the trunk.
Okay. Thank you. Can you damage your battery if you jump start your car a lot?
You could. I mean, you could. Yeah. If you have a car that needs to be jump started frequently, that means that battery is already junk. You know, it must have a bad cell, and it lost its state of charge. So there's people that say, well, you know, once I jump start it, my car runs fine, you know, and I don't have a problem with it. If I shut it off and turn it back on, it turns back on. But when I let it sit overnight and I go, you know, to start it out the next day, it's completely dead. You know, I think I have a draw. I think I have some of the problem. But sometimes it's just that the battery has lost its store capacity. So that means the battery will stay charged as long as the alternator is applying voltage to it. But once you shut it off, then it starts losing its charge because it has a bad cell in it. Batteries usually have, you know, between 6 and 10 cells inside the battery, and sometimes one of those cells goes bad, and then that's actually like an internal draw that it creates.
Okay. If you're jumping from another car, when do you disconnect the jumper cables?
If you what?
If you're jumping from another car, when do you disconnect the jumper cables?
Okay, so you disconnect. You want to make sure that the car that you jump in is already running. Once that vehicle is running, if it was just a dead battery or a weak battery, you should be able to disconnect it. When it comes to disconnected, it doesn't matter which way. It doesn't matter if you start from the car that you're using to jumpstart or from the car that was getting jumpstart. But once the second vehicle that needed a jump start is running, then it's safe to disconnect the jumper cables. Like I said, you just want to make sure you give it about 5 minutes, just so that alternator is not, you know, the alternator on the vehicle is not charging a battery that just had a little bit of boost to start. You know, if you give it about 5 minutes, then that's enough time for both of the vehicles to recharge their batteries.
Okay. All right, good. And so when there is corrosion around the battery, what should you do? Should you clean?
Corrosion. Go ahead.
Should you clean it yourself? Take it to the shop?
You're better off taking it to a shop. I mean, that stuff, you know, the corrosion that builds up on the battery. You know, back when I was young and fool, I was cleaning a battery, and I was using a wire brush, and I wasn't using safety glasses, and a little bit of that dust went into my eye, and I literally had, you know, almost like I got punched in the eye for like 2 days because it was just a little bit of acid that went in the inside of my eye, and it was bothering me for like 2 days. So that's definitely something that you want to take to a shop or to an expert to have it cleaned, and if the terminals need to be replaced, you know, replacing, because sometimes corrosion causes a weak contact on the battery. So, you know, sometimes it may not even be your battery that's the problem. Sometimes it could be your terminals, because so the corrosion build up on them.
Okay, okay. I think that's it for now.
All right, awesome. Okay, so
Great.
the next video is about changing a flat. Our cars go through a lot, changing weather conditions, bad roads, nails, and other debris on the asphalt. List goes on and on. In this video, Lewis demonstrates how you can change a flat on your car.
So now we're gonna do a tire inspection. After I did a visual, I realized that this tire, you know, I noticed that this tire was a little low. So you can see, you know, the tire is pretty close to being completely flat. You know, you don't want to take this tire out on the road, because if you go on the highway, the tire is gonna get hot the way it is. The sidewall is gonna start ripping from the inside out. Usually when you see a tire like this, you don't see any damage in the inside, but it would actually start chewing the inside of the sidewall from the heat. So I'm gonna show you guys the process of how to replace a tire. The tools that I'm gonna use are shop tools, but you know, you'll get the basics of it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lug nuts. Usually lug nut sizes are 16, 17s, 19s, and 21s. Those are the most common ones. This one's happen to be 17s, so I got a 17 socket and a ratchet. So this is my ratchet. Usually you don't want to jack up the vehicle first, because if you jack up the vehicle, the wheel will be free spinning. So when you try to loosen the lug nuts, the tire is just going to spin. So you want to make sure the vehicle is still on the ground, and you want to loosen the lug nuts up. To loosen anything, you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So you go to the left and you loosen your first lug nut, and then you go around. When it comes to loosening it, there's not, you know, you don't have a specific order. If you're doing this the first time and it happens to be kind of hard, you can always grab your, you can stand on it and, you know, and break it loose. Once your lug nuts are loose, you don't want to take them off completely, you just want to loosen them up. Once the lug nuts are loose, then you look for your jack point on your vehicle and you start lifting up your vehicle. On this vehicle, the jack point is right here. You can see where there's a little bit more metal in this spot. So this is where you jack it up. If you jack it up here, if you jack it up here, if you jack it up here, you're gonna cause damage to the door. So you always wanna use the lift points. Most of them have a little triangle mark in it. This one doesn't have it, but from experience, I know that where it's thick, that's where it's safe to lift. So I'm gonna put my jack on this spot and I'm gonna jack it up. So we're gonna be using, again, we're gonna be using a shop tool, which is it's a low profile jack. Usually you just have a black, you know, scissor jack that you have to crank like 30 times to get the vehicle up. This is a little bit easier. You start lifting it up slowly. If you're using your scissor jack, then you wanna spin it slowly until you're sure the base of the jack is making contact with the thick surface on your body. All right, so my vehicle is lifted. You know it's lifted because it either free spins or you can move your tire back and forth. That's how you know that your tire is off the ground and it's safe to take it apart. While you're doing this, make sure there's no kids, make sure there's no one around. And with this jack, with the rod, I gotta make sure no one's gonna trip over it. But always make sure you're on a safe location and make sure your jack is level and the vehicle is in a level surface, because otherwise it could move on you. Make sure it's on a hard surface. Make sure you're not on mud, because if you jack it up on mud, the weight of the vehicle is gonna push your jack down, and then you're gonna have to call a tow truck anyways. So now that I have my lug nuts loose, I'll come back here, make sure they're all. So I'll take my 5 lug nuts. Another thing, when you're doing your lug nuts, a lot of the lug nuts have an open end. You gotta make sure that the part with the arrow, you know, that's narrow, is the part that goes inside the rim. Because I've seen a lot of people that just doing the opposite. You know, some of them is just a regular nut. It has nut on both ends. This one, I mean, you can't do that. But the ones that are just a straight nut, you'll know that the part that goes inside the rim is the shiny part that's narrow, instead of just being flat. So I grab my lug nuts, I make sure I put them on a safe spot, and then I tap the tire on the top. Tire comes loose. Always use your 2 hands so you don't screw up your back. And then I get my tire off. See, on this tire, there's a nail pretty close to the sidewall, so it's very hard to plug. You know, that's usually not a safe location to plug. If you have a nail on the tire, you know it's safe to plug it on the area that contacts the road. So this one is from here to here. That nail is, you know, closer to the sidewall, so this tire is pretty much junk. Unfortunately, still a good tire, but it's unsafe to plug on the location where it is. So we put the spare on it and go to a tire repair place and have the tire replaced. All right, so we determined that the tire was no good because it has the nail that it has on it is too close to the sidewall. So I come to the back of my vehicle. A lot of the vehicles now, they have run flats, so they don't have a spare. This vehicle happened to have a spare. While I'm here, I actually noticed a first aid kit. It's always good to have one in your car because you never know what's gonna happen, you know. Her spare tire is here. So this is my spare tire. And back in the day when you had the little spare tires, little donut tires, which, I mean, this is still a donut, but before you couldn't go over 45 miles an hour, and they wanted you to pump the pressure to 60 psi. This one you still pump it to 60 psi, but I mean, you can go highway speed, no problem. You just definitely want to get it done, you know, sooner than later, because it doesn't have much thread on it, and you know, and you want to keep your spare, because once you wear out your spare, then you got to buy a whole new spare. They don't sell you just the tire. You gotta buy the rim and the tire if you go to the dealership. All right, so going back to, this will be the most common jack you will find in your car, in your vehicle. This is what's called a scissor jack. And the way it works, same thing, you put it under your vehicle. You know, it comes with two tools. This is to remove your lug nuts, and you use this either to pop your wheel cover if you have a wheel cover, or this hook for the jack. A lot of people use this and they try to turn it, and I seen people grab this and put it backwards. You always want this part to be facing out, because if you put it facing the inside, and I know it sounds silly, but I seen people do this. They grab it and they go, ugh. And you know, you want to put it on the outside, so it's just like a regular handle. You know, it's easier to rotate. And you do the same thing. You know, you put it on your jack point, and you just lift up your scissor jack and do it with that. I'm not gonna use it because I'm using the shop jack, but I will use this to put the lug nuts back on, so you guys kind of get the idea. But this will be your factory jack. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put the spare tire on the vehicle. There's really no you know, wrong way of doing it. I mean, it only goes one way. It's pretty straightforward. And I mean, if anything, if you have any questions, just make sure the caution sticker is always facing the outside. That's how you know that's the way it goes into the vehicle. You know, I put it on, hold it with my foot, hold it up here with my hand, and just and then after I put my lugs by hand, I just, you know, grab the wrench and just kind of tighten them up a little bit. And I show you why it's good to just loosen them up before you jack it up. Like if I went to tighten this up, see, it'll just spin. So I mean, now they're kind of hand tight. If I lower my vehicle, if you're using the scissor lift or if you're using a hydraulic jack, you know, you don't want to put it all the way down. You just kind of put it down so it's resting against the ground. Then you grab your wrench again, and you finish tightening up your lug nuts. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but when I tighten my lug nuts, I go on a star pattern. So you go from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and then last this one. So you go like this, you know. If you're going down, you go, you know, either way, just, you know, if you have 5 logs, just keep it on a star pattern. If you have 4 logs, I mean, just, you know, do an X pattern. So you're gonna go from here to here, from this one to this one, and from that one to that one. So you kind of always want to go opposite, because if you just start on one side, you could tighten the wheel, and you would think that it's tight, but in reality, it's just tight on one side, and it just got stuck on the hub on the other side. And now that my spare is tight, and my lug nuts are tight, I lower my vehicle down, and I'm safe to go on the road, and I don't have to worry about breaking down on the side of the road with a flat tire.
Can't hear you, Courtney. I'm not sure what happened there.
Awesome. I left the lug. Oh, goodness.
There you go.
Can you still not hear me?
I can hear you now. Nope. All right, Sophia, why don't you take over? You want to ask some questions?
Yes, so I do have some questions here. These days, some cars don't come with a spare. Is it okay to drive with a flat to a garage?
Yes, that's actually why the vehicles that don't come with a spare, the tires that they have on, they call them run flats. So this run flats are made out of a stronger material. They're good because if you have a flat and you don't know how to replace a tire, or you're in a location where you can't find someone or you can't get anyone to replace your tire, you can safely drive it to a garage. The downside of these tires is that if you have a nail, you have to replace the tire. If you have a cut, you have to replace the tire. And once that tire goes flat, it has to be replaced. And they tend to be twice the price of just a regular tire. So that's the only downside of having run flats, and that's what it is. I mean, that's why they call them run flats, because they literally have no air in them, but the rubber that they use and the structure of the tire is so strong that you won't even know it's flat. I mean, you'll be able to tell because of the noise that it makes, and because you will have a tire pressure light on the dash.
Okay, thank you. Now, is there such a thing as run flat tires, and how long can you drive on them? I think that's what you were just talking about, right?
Yep. So those are the run flats. So yeah, how long can you drive on them? I mean, honestly, you just want to drive from where you realize that it was a flat tire to a repair facility, or you want to go to a repair facility as fast. I mean, as soon as you can. You don't want to say, oh, it's a run flat, it's flat, but I'll do it tomorrow. Because because I mean, once you have no air, there's really nothing holding the integrity of the tire. And it just gets to a point where the tire takes so much abuse from being flat, even though it doesn't look flat, that it just comes in pieces. It just come apart.
Got it. Okay. Now, is there an easier tool to use to loosen the nuts? I mean, other than that thing you were using?
Yeah, I mean, you can. They sell, actually nowadays they sell battery operated, half-inch guns. They're about $500. If you think you have to replace your tires that often, then it's a good investment. But if not, then most of the time you should be able to remove it with the lock nut wrench that the manufacturer supplies. But yeah, there's impact guns that are battery operated. You have air guns that most of the shops use to remove your lock nuts, and you have ratchets and wrenches, breaker bars. The only difference is that when you install the tires, there's something called the torque wrench, and every tire comes with a torque spec. So if you have aluminum rims, you wanna torque spec is the amount of force you want to put on the lock nut to know that it's tight. If you have an aluminum wheel, they're between 75 and 100 foot-pounds of pressure that you have to put on them to make sure that they're tight. If you have a bigger vehicle like our buses, they go from 185 to even we have a couple of units that take 280 psi. I mean 80 foot-pounds of torque in order to be tight. Because if you have an aluminum wheel and you torque it, you over torque it, then you can cause damage to the meeting surface between the lug nut and the aluminum wheel.
Oh, okay. So what precautions should someone take while changing a tire on a busy road?
So when you're changing a tire on a busy road, you wanna, if you're on the highway, you definitely want to make sure you look for the breakdown line first. Don't try to stop on the side of the road. If unfortunately it happens to be the tire that's on the side of on the driver's side, which most of the times your driver's side is the side that's facing the highway or is facing the road, put your hazard lights on. Try to get off the road as much as you can while staying on the breakdown lane, because like I said, when you jack up your car, you definitely want it to be on a hard surface. Put your hazard lights on. If you happen to have triangles, or sometimes people still have flares, put them on so the drivers know that, hey, I have a flat tire, and just or I have an issue with my car, just merge or move to the next lane. But you definitely always want to be aware of your surroundings. If you're on the highway and you're just too close to the road to be safe, don't bother changing the tire. Just get off your car, move away from the road, leave your car with the hazard lights on, and just wait for a professional, wait for a tow truck to put it in a safe location.
Okay. I have one more, and it goes back to jump starting the battery.
Okay.
What could be an issue even after you jump start the car? It stops in a few minutes by itself. Any suggestions on next step?
The next step will be you will have to check your charging system. So if your battery was dead, somebody jump started your car, your car is running, your battery is charged, and then it runs for a few minutes, and it dies again, and then it won't start, that means your alternator is not doing its job. So the alternator usually it only sends 2 volts back to the battery, but it uses those 2 volts constantly, so it always keeps the battery charged. So if your car got jump started and then it died out, 5-10 minutes after, then you probably have a weak alternator, a bad alternator, or you just have an electrical issue going from your alternator to your battery that is keeping your alternator from recharging the battery.
Okay. And just getting back to the safety one, and I know we're running short of time. Should you have other people in your car look out, for oncoming traffic? Is that safe to do?
You could, but I mean, you definitely want to make sure that you feel safe doing it. So if even if you have someone else and they say no, go right ahead, keep an eye on traffic. If you don't feel safe, just don't do it. I mean, it's always good to have a lookout. I've seen a lot of people when they have a flat tire, they stop, and then you see another car behind, and it's just a stranger doing the right thing. Just he kind of stops a couple of feet away, turns his hazard lights on, while the other person changes the tire. But yeah, I mean, it's always good to. I mean, it's always a plus to have someone else, keeping an eye on the road while your attention is direct towards the tire that you're replacing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I know we're getting close to the end, so we're just going to move on to the last video, which is about taking your car for a road test. All right, here we go.
So now we know how to check your battery, jumpstart your car, replace a flat tire if you happen to have a flat tire, to put your donut on. Let's say all that stuff is working and you have no problems. So now you're safe to go out on the road. Next thing you want to do, you just you start your vehicle. A lot of times the dash will give you a message. Like on this one, I'm getting a message that my door is open, back door is open, but it was also showing me that my key battery was a little low. So that's another thing that while your vehicle is sitting, there's always, your key is always trying to communicate with your door handle and with your body control module. So there's always it's always communication between your vehicle and the computers in the vehicle and even your key. So I come in, I start my vehicle, and while the vehicle is running, I check my lights, make sure I don't have any lights on the dash. On this one, we have the tire pressure light on because we find out that one of the right rear tire had a nail on it, so it was low in air. And I also have a service past due, so this vehicle is going to need a service soon. But I don't have anything else. I don't have my check engine light on. I don't have my ABS light on. And those lights, they usually do a test. So if you want to make sure those lights work and they're just not coming on because the bulb burned out, I'll shut my vehicle again. I'll take my foot off the brake pedal, and then I try to start it. When you try to start it, it's what they call the dummy lights. You can see all the lights come on. So you have your check engine light, e-brake, battery light, your airbag light on. So that's how you check to make sure all your lights, so all your warning lights are working. They're all coming on. And if you start your vehicle and none of them stay on, that's mean your vehicle is good to drive. You don't have any check engine light codes or any ABS codes, so it's safe to go on the road. While the vehicle is running, just check for noises. Make sure you don't have any exhaust leaks, and make sure there's no rattles or vibrations coming from the engine. And if you don't have any of that, then put it on drive, and just don't forget to put your seatbelt on. Safety first. Put your seatbelt on, and you can always do a quick pull to make sure it locks. So if you happen to get into an accident, it's gonna lock. So I put my seatbelt on, I put it in drive. Make sure your e-brake's down. If you happen to use your e-brake and put it on while you park it. Sometimes people share vehicles and one person will put the e-brake off and the other person will know about it, and they'll just take off driving and end up overheating the rear brakes. So I know my e-brake's down. I put my vehicle in drive, and then I start driving. While I'm driving, on low speeds, I'm checking for grinding noises, humming noises, or anything like that indicates that either my brake pads are metal to metal. I have a bad wheel bearing. I have a backing plate that rotted out and is hitting the rim, or even a flat tire. I mean, if you happen to miss the flat tire, or you just happen to just get in the vehicle because you were running late and you didn't check anything, you know, on the first couple of miles that you drive it, on the first mile, you can check a lot of things, you know, flat tires, brake noise, worn bearings, bad shocks. You know, if you happen to go over an uneven surface, couple of bumps, and you hear, you know, like a hard knock metal to metal, then you have a worn shock. You have a bad sway bar bushing or a sway bar link, and it's, you know, it's just you're training your ear to look for those things, or just getting yourself used to just, you know, when you get in your vehicle, just, you know, check those things, check to make sure there's no rattles, no noises, no knocks, no scraping noises, no humming noises, and once you get on the highway, then, you know, you may have a bad wheel bearing that you won't hear driving 10 miles an hour, but once you get on the highway, it just goes woo, 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 just a, you know, a continuous humming that only goes away when you slow down. Then you know that's one of your bearings that's just going bad. And you know, if all those things check good, then, you know, you're good to go. You're good to just go on your, you know, your everyday thing, and you know your vehicle is safe to drive.
So Courtney, we got one final question in here. Louis,
Okay.
you said today, yeah, so many questions came through. This is great.
That's good.
How should you stop your car if you lose your brakes while operating your vehicle? And what should you do if your brakes lock up during a skid?
Okay, so I'll do it. So if you happen to lose your brakes while you're driving your vehicle, the first thing you want to do is you want to kind of try to pump your brake pedal, see if that will help you. You know, if it will help you build pressure. When you lose your brakes, it's only one thing that can cause that, and it will be a brake fluid leak. Whether it's an internal leak, whether you just, you know, you wore your pads down metal to metal and the pads came off and the caliper came apart, or you have a rotted or a bad line. So that, you know, when you lose your brakes, that means the hydraulic system in your brake system failed because of a leak, but it's losing fluid. So by pumping the brake pedal, you kind of, you know, force a little bit of pressure to be built even when you have air in the system. So that may help you slow down a little bit. And if that happens to work, then you want to slowly start stepping on your e-brake, on your emergency brake, whether it's a hand emergency brake that you have on your center console, or it's a you know, emergency brake pedal that you have near the kick panel. But you don't want to press all the way down, because when your emergency brake only operates your rear brakes. So if you press all the way down at once, you're going to lock up your rear tires and you're probably going to lose control of the vehicle. Another thing that you want to do is, once you realize, okay, I have no brakes, put it in neutral. You know, take it off drive, turn your hazard lights on, put it in neutral, try to stay on a safe location where if you can bring it to a stop, or if you can slow it down, you know, you can kind of put it close to the gear, to the rail guard, so that will help you stop. I mean, we're talking like, you know, the last thing you have to do is just kind of put it against the guardrail and try to stop like that. But yeah, you definitely, I mean, if you notice that you lost your brakes, I mean, you have literally minutes to just react. You know, stop. You know, step on your brake pedal fast. Try to build up some pressure of the pressure that you lost. Start pulling your e-brake. You know, put it in neutral. Throw your hazard lights on, and then just look for a safe place to stop. So it's, you know, you just gotta keep your cool. So once that pedal goes all the way down, don't just, oh my God, I'm done. You know, start pumping that brake pedal, and always remember you have an emergency brake. So I mean, even if you have to press all the way down and lock it up, you know, just, you know, if you have to do that, you have to do that. But yeah, the way you want to do it, that's why the e-brake comes with clicks. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but usually when you go to get an inspection sticker, they want 7 clicks from your e-brake, you know, and you kind of want to start on the first one. Click, okay, it didn't really stop. Click, and then you keep going one at a time. Once you feel that it starts slowing your vehicle down, then you kind of keep it on that until it doesn't slow it anymore, and then you go another one up. You know, if you have the time to do something like that, you know, I mean, if you're in an emergency and you're gonna rear-end somebody, you're gonna step on the e-brake like it's like it's your business, and you're gonna put it in neutral. So, but yeah, you definitely, you know, keep your cool, step on the brake pedal, start using your e-brake, take it off drive, and put your hazard lights on so the people around you know that you have an emergency.
Okay. All right. So that's
And,
it, Courtney.
All right.
All right, awesome. Louis, thank you so much. I know I learned a ton. And thank you also to our audience for sending in so many amazing questions. Again, I'm Courtney Goldberg, and you can reach me at cgoldberg@transactionassociates.com. If you have any more questions for Louis, please feel free to send them my way. We'll make sure he gets to you. Thank you again to Louis, and thanks to everyone for joining us. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.